Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Crisis Point podcast. My name is Ryan, and today I'm joined by my co host Shane
Hello, hello.
and our co host Ben.
Hello, hello.
And our special guest today, we have the once and future LVO winner, Mike DeLuca from the Danger Room. Mike, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm here just gracing you guys with my presence.
And humble too. Wow. All right, yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's awesome to have you on here on our humble little Crisis Protocol podcast. We have got a lot to talk about today, but I guess generally how have you guys been doing this week? I started a Crisis Protocol league tonight at my local store, and it's not really looking too good week one for me personally, but
Oh
if
no!
anybody
What
else has said,
happened, Brian?
I don't want to talk about it. Well, I want to hear about you guys first.
So I have been in the last episode I mentioned that I've been struggling a little bit with the new crises and wrapping my head around them, but I think I've overcome that to some degree, and I've been it's starting to click for me a lot more, at least with my spider foes. So I've been playing a lot of foes, the huge, but I've also had this like I always have to be playing like one other thing. I can't just play one. Like whenever I'm playing my foes, there's always like one thing on the side that I'm playing, and I feel like it changes like every 2 weeks. And I've had like a total dark dimension itch like the
Oh,
past couple
wow.
weeks, and
Yes.
it's just so fun. He every like 3 games he feels like a real 8 threat. Um, and it's just so much fun to just like roll dice and look at skulls and delete things. Dormammu is very fun, as it turns out, and I've just been messing around with some like extract shenanigan Dormammu Dark Dimension nonsense. Ben, I've played it with you a few times. I mean, you already know about this, but
Yeah, it's fun, and
it's very
when
fun.
Dormammu feels like an eighth threat, it's he's pretty good. And then there are times where he's just like there, you know.
Yeah, he's just a big cool guy. He's not 8 threat, but he's cool and fun and thematic on the table, which is really all you can ask for, unless you're at a tournament. But no, really, it was because I saw when I watched Phil at Everwinter, who I played in the finals, running Dark Dimension, and how good he did in that tournament. It like inspired me, and so I've been just trying out a little Dormammu, and he is quite fun.
Dude, Big Daddy D is like he's always my pet list, my
Yeah,
casual list. When I'm trying to like not make the locals hate me,
yeah,
it's always Daddy D.
yeah. And you know what? One of my favorite characters to play right now is Ancient One. So I've been jamming Ancient One into this list, and she is so fun in Dormammu. Um, as like she can grab the midline super safely, which is fun without like an eye on the prize type of thing. Um, and she's just like such a brawler, and it's just such a blast. Ben, what about you? What have you been doing?
Well, this has been an interesting week for me, and you'll have to forgive my sound quality as I'm on a cell phone today as we record this. But I had a really fun match with my buddy Dizzard as we started a new year and a new taco meat tournament. I can't
Lunch
remember the
meat.
full name of
Lunch
meat.
meat,
Yeah, taco
classic.
meat. Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. That's what it
It's
is.
taco meat, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, taco meat. And we had a really wonderful round one Weapon X mirror match, which is great, where everybody just slapped everyone. It didn't go well for me and my slaps, but as Dizzard and I and Mike, you and I talked about this, in our Danger Room chat. Shout out Danger Room, where you either live by the slaps or you die by the slaps, right? So um, I died by the slaps, but it was great. I really love Weapon X. They're super fun. I've been really enjoying them as a team, and it's just a good way to kind of mix things up from the kind of the tankiness of how I like to run my Brotherhood teams. So yeah, I've been having fun, and I can't wait to get back home here soon and try to throw some LVO preps because Mike, you and I have got that going on here soon. So what have you been up to?
Before I get into that, I bet you the contents of the dossier probably say "live by the slaps, die by the slaps."
Yes, I need to write that on my token now. Live or die with the slaps.
Can
That's
only
why on the
hope.
card art, Sabretooth's just like smiling when he's reading it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, what have I been playing? So I've been playing a lot of stuff. I've been playing X-Men, Brotherhood, Guardians with Thanos. I played a little bit of Web Warriors. Played some Avengers. Um, Mostly that stuff. Kind of feel like that's the first three I named are probably the best things in the game, at least in my opinion right now.
Yeah. I mean,
So
spoiler alert for later, but
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been trying to just kind of crack like how they all coexist together. I'm making progress. So
nice. Yeah.
it's been good.
All solid stuff. Yeah, and
No.
Ben, you mentioned the lunch meet. I actually totally forgot. I'm doing that too, and I also got to play my lunch meet game.
Oh
I'm
yes,
playing. Yeah, I'm playing Spider Foes in it, and I got to play against a guy who was running the. We heard about it a few episodes back on the cast when we interviewed Curtis Osborne. His Greenies and the Weenies A Force list, where he runs She-Hulk, Hulk, and then 3/2 threats.
Huh.
And I got to play against that list for the first time, and it was a fun game. I was running my Spider Foes, and I got to see Cassandra Nova do like 14 damage to a She-Hulk in
Oh
one
my
turn.
god.
So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, lunch meat's cool. I think I'm playing my next game on that tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, anybody
it's
who like loves She-Hulk, sorry to cut you off. Anybody who loves She-Hulk hasn't had her take like 15 damage in an activation.
Yeah.
right, yeah. Just like and blam. Oh, that makes me sad. No,
Yeah.
I was waiting for you, Mike, to reveal some secret like Inhumans tech that you've just cracked the code.
It's funny you mentioned that. One of my locals has been jamming Inhumans like a maniac, and
Oh,
I lost to him actually. He Terra Genesis to me on Senators, and
Oh, dude,
we were
Terrigenesis
we were
stock
parity
way
like the
up.
whole game, and then my Toad got turned into an Inhuman, and I lost.
oh, that's the worst.
That card is
Lo-
so much better now.
Yeah.
hate to see it. Hate to see it.
Uh,
But yeah, Inhumans are pretty cool right now. I played against Inhumans the other day. I'm like curious about them, to be honest.
yeah, I mean,
I
I've
just
been
hate.
watching a lot of his games, and they have a lot more play nowadays. Sadly, you're still gonna get your greatest threat is Black Bolt, like doing nothing on his activations still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Black Bolt's he's a little bit of an anchor for the faction, but they've just got so much shenanigans with that leadership. It's just kind of wild. And I think it's better with the new extracts too, where there's so
Yeah.
much stuff to grab on like almost any scenario.
I've been grinding, trying to figure out how the hell to run Black Order with these new crises. And I just am just every game I play, I feel like I'm just hitting a wall. I tried the Corvus leadership. I started out with that, and I'm like 0 and 5 with it at this point. And then I took Thanos Black Order tonight on it was a 17 threat. I took Proxima and Corvus with Reality. Thanos, I think I gave him time and mind, and it was just like it wasn't as bad as the Corvus led leadership, but like I feel like Black Order has just been passed up in this new meta we find ourselves in. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think Black Order's in a weird spot because it's like weirdly one of the like less good spots for Thanos right now, which is odd because it's like his own place.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think, Mike? What do you think about Black Order at the moment?
so I've had success playing the original Black Order, and I think now that there's like a multitude of problems in my opinion. One is that Thanos is just overtuned. Secondly, the way AMG had balanced him is they restricted his best gems,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel has undeservedly, is that a word? nerfed Corvus and Maw.
Yeah.
Because now you kind of have like Maw and Thanos fighting over the space gem. You can run Corvus reality and like mind gem Thanos, but Thanos and Maw both really want space to function properly. They made the time gem mostly irrelevant. It doesn't really do anything. And it's, I don't know. I just like, I think Swan is cool, Dwarf is cool, the Proxima's still great, but they just have like a gem crisis, and then because of that, they like don't get restricted cards. And they've never been good on pay to flips or like things like Spider Infected, and those are like more of an abundance now.
Yeah.
They also made like 16 threat harder to achieve, because if you're gonna like lose prio and get given extracts, your only choice is paranoia, which is
Yeah. They took it off
really
research,
fast.
right?
Yeah, making research based 15 threat has been very subtle in what it did for the balance, and I'm actually very happy with that change.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Corvus Thanos Proxima at 16 on research was like a nightmare for a little while back in the day.
Yeah, really, the crux of it was that Thanos is 8 threat, and then you plug him into another 8 threat core,
Yeah.
which is basically the cheapest functional core in the game, and you're at 16.
Yeah, and I mean now we're kind of seeing that with like you kind of mentioned it earlier, but like Guardians plus like Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot plus Thanos. So like you've got that 8 threat, super cheap 3 characters that just function really well together, and you throw Thanos in there, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, they kind of help each other out in like really subtle, unintuitive ways. If you haven't played it, it's like they're all Rocket and Star-Lord are always in position really to like get Desecrate attacks off. Thanos like also gives them control, which none of them have.
Yeah.
And then Thanos also just gets a lot of value out of a winging it token. So
For sure.
the synergies are all kind of crazy there.
I mean, it's kind of funny, like seeing the difference between, for me, playing against a lot of like reality Thanos, and it's to the point where like when I see a Thanos on the other side of the table and they don't have reality, I'm just like so relieved immediately. I'm just like, I feel so much less likely to just get one shot by this 8 threat jerk. Yeah, Thanos is crazy, but yeah, I agree. Black Order's a little bit weird right now.
I mean, maybe I do think I think I have no idea, but at a minimum, Supergiant is better than what she was. You know, like
That's true. I mean, it's hard to get worse than what she was.
Yeah, exactly.
Senators helps her. I mean, like we said with the civilian stuff, like it's more present, which is cool.
Right.
It helps some of those niche things that like, because there's like certain rules that exist in the game that are like not inherently like bad when you just look at them in like a vacuum on like a piece of paper, but like when you actually put them in the game, like they become very niche. And I think civilian interactions was one of those things. And I think now that we're in like the right game state, some of those things are going to shine a little bit more, like the Terra Genesis and like Supergiant, stuff like that.
Interesting. All right. So I guess now we can get ready to go down and ride Splash Mountain. Shane, do you want to explain what Splash Mountain is for those who are either new to the podcast or have just like skipped the first half hour of every single one of our casts so far?
For those people, we do this every episode. We have a segment called Splash Mountain where we spin a magic wheel that Ryan has. It may or may not be digital, or it may be a real wheel. I mean, who knows? And it has every character in the game minus the ones that we've already featured on Splash Mountain, and minus Dormammu. And I think that's it. And like the newest characters that aren't out yet. So Ryan spins the wheel, it lands on a character, and then on the fly we come up with one by one different splash destinations for this character, and it is it's always a good time. Are we ready? Are we ready to spin the wheel, Ryan?
I'm ready.
I cannot wait.
Here we go.
Bated breath.
Oh. Okay, so this is I'm gonna tell you guys, this is the best character that we've ever like had on Splash Mountain.
We haven't had many good ones.
No. It is Juggernaut.
Oh, are you
Oh
late? Oh my
yeah.
god.
Uh,
Here
my
we go.
I hate Juggernaut. My
Do
hatred
you
Oh,
know
this
who
is
I am?
perfect. This is perfect then.
Oh. Yeah, so Ryan, you're right. This is definitely the best character we've had on Splash Mountain by like a mile.
It's not even close.
I was actually going to mention before I forgot to say it, but like we have not gotten like a truly great character on this yet. It's all been like janky, like at best, like solid in their affiliation characters. Taskmaster was one of the better ones actually, but Juggernaut, oh my goodness! I mean, so uh, to,
I know who. I already got mine.
I mean, for starters, he's only affiliated in Brotherhood, so I mean, and thank God for that. But he's only affiliated in Brotherhood, so there's at least a lot of options. So who? I mean, Ben, it sounds like you're ready. You're rearing to go.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah. You talk about jugs. As Team Brotherhood over here. I love me some jugs. Yeah. Just to go over his card super quick, right? So jugs. Just in case you didn't know who he was, has
nice.
8 health. Thank you. I'm glad that someone caught that. Has 8 health, moves small, size 4, is 5 threat, 4 physical defense, 3 energy defense, and 5 mystical. He has a range 2 strike that starts off at 5 dice with a wild push, and then his spender is a 4 cost, range 2, 7 dice. I'm the Juggernaut with a wild rush ability that allows him that if he rolls a wild, he can use his superpower called Nothing Stops the Juggernaut for free. And just to move right into that, Juggernaut has this amazing superpower called Nothing Stops the Juggernaut. He pushes himself small, and as long as he contacts any size 3 or less terrain, he destroys that terrain and keeps on going. Until he runs, nothing stops the Juggernaut until he runs into either a size 4 or person. That's a fun fact. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's in the comics that he runs into a person and he stops. But if he runs into a person, they automatically suffer 1 damage. No collision, no dice, just 1 damage. And if he had a stagger condition on him before he did this, he would actually lose that stagger condition. So it's really nice way to lose a stagger. He has a nice punch reactive superpower that costs 1 that reduces damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 0, which is amazing. He's got this really cool helmet that allows him not to be pushed or advanced by special effects of enemy mystical attacks or enemy superpowers. He also has unstoppable momentum that anytime he makes a move action, he gains 2 power, and the next attack that he makes adds 3 dice to the attack roll. Rip in peace, Montesi books. And he also is immune to stun. He's got some changes on his flip side. He loses his 5 mystical defense, goes down to 2, and then he gains the Avatar of Sidorak. He has now a character or size or terrain features of size 3, throw, medium, which is great. And he loses his helmet, which is unfortunate. But for me,
Juggernaut has an injured side? Did you just say that? He died?
it does occasionally come up. Not always, but it does occasionally come up. I will tell you, are you guys ready? This is going to be great. Okay. I'm going to put in Juggernaut with Baron Strucker. I'm glad you said what you said, Shane, because if you think normal Juggernaut is really annoying to deal with, hear me out. What if every time Juggernaut dealt a damage, he healed himself a damage? And on top of that, if he had a condition that he didn't like, oh, I don't know, Hex, he just gives it to you now.
So wait a minute, hold on. When he, because I'm for some reason
pass the condition to heal a damage.
You got to
Juggernaut
pass the
doesn't give
condition.
out any
Yeah.
conditions
Sorry,
inherently.
I got excited. I got excited myself. Yeah. So
I was gonna say
he's got that.
he needs to have a condition first.
Yeah. You put that condition on him. You put that condition on him, and then you slap somebody, and you know what? Now you've got the condition, and Juggernaut's healed 1. So hear me out. Red Skull move over as the 5 threat in Baron Strucker Hydra.
Yeah.
Enter in Unkillable Juggernaut. And he could
Okay.
be a sleeper agent, guys. Come on. Hear
No,
me out.
don't, not with him. Oh, I mean, no. Okay. So, all right, Baron Strucker. Not what I thought you were going to go.
Oh, no, I love it.
But Mike, do you have anything, or do you want me to go?
So as soon as you revealed that the splash catcher was Juggernaut, I immediately was ready to press my Avengers nut button. And then Ben told me I couldn't do that prior to the cast. But I mean, for like a competitive standpoint, it's obviously you could play him with Sam. I've played him with Sam a lot, and he's quite good there. But there's also another obvious one is Kingpin.
Yeah, scary one too.
Kingpin loves
Especially
having.
he's got Rhino there too, so you have like 2 monsters that don't die.
Yeah, and then somebody plays Hulk into you, and you're really sad. But being an immovable, unkillable body is great for Kingpin. You can also do cool things like move twice, slide round 1, and like stand on somebody's back scoundrel with Juggernaut. It's very rude.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is pretty rude to do that. Yeah, though Sam Avengers Juggernaut is I mean, he heals there too, and he
does
need to pass on a condition or anything. So there you go. I like it. I'm gonna take another like softball answer here. We're just I have to balance out the Strucker Hydra drink that we were introduced to by
I love it.
I think Juggernaut is obviously pretty disgusting in Storm X-Men. That guy with first of all, the big base, he's amazing for like enabling pretty cool storm hops. He's kind of scary to play against there. And you give him cover pretty much all the time, unless you're within 2 of them. And that durability just reaches stupid levels. Yeah, I mean, he is, and I think he kind of fits well into Storm too, because like it's not like Storm X-Men is not an attrition team, and I think it's important to recognize that Juggernaut is not an attrition character, even though he has this big, 8 dice strike that he puts out every turn. He's just kind of an amazing control, like objective piece, and yeah, and I think he just fits in like a glove.
Yeah, I like the Storm shout out. He's really good there.
Yeah, he's debatably one of the best splashes there. I mean, he's just kind of like checks every box, I feel, for her.
Yeah, it's really frustrating playing against like a 6-wide X-Men, and they're going to go last with Juggernaut, and he's just going to sock whoever's on somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his
Push
push,
him off a point. Yeah.
his push on his builder is not size restricted, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Gross. I've played against Juggernaut too many times, so I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about there, Shane. What are you talking about?
All right, Ryan.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say we'll throw him in Malekith-led Cabal. Like you were saying, he's he bounces around the board. He's a good control piece. He's not inherently attrition based, but being able to get a free S advance outside whenever anybody else on the team is dazing or KOing enemy characters, giving him even more free movement than he feels like he's already getting. That sounds pretty good to me, and he also gets to remove a damage and gain a power. So it's like, I don't know, it just makes him better.
Juggernaut and Malekith is just like the rich get richer.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. And
he doesn't even need this stuff. He's just gross.
Yeah, just piling it on, and that's how I like to play. So.
So now that we've gotten a good character in Splash Mountain, we're cursed for another 8 weeks of like
just mid, just
like the bottom percentile. Yeah. Oh man, but that was a great Splash Mountain, everybody. Well done. We made it. Much better than Taskmaster. Taskmaster left a gross taste in my mouth doing that one last week, and I'm not excited to do Bucky either, because that's going to come up eventually, and we're going to have to like pretend to be excited to talk about Bucky as a splash.
I like
Wakanda.
There you go, Wakanda Bucky. There you go.
He is pretty fun in Wakanda.
Shadowlands.
No, yeah, he's good in so many places. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like so easy. We have to get the King of Splash as Punisher, who literally he lives alone on Splash Mountain.
That's true. That's how we
Yeah.
balance it
The
out.
king of Splash Mountain.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we have to move on to the next segment here, which is we got some new character cards revealed since the last episode. Ryan, what are we talking about here?
So today we are going to be talking about Agent Venom and Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman's her card and her some of her tactics cards haven't been officially released, but they have been leaked. As far as I'm aware at the time of recording this, and both of these characters, frankly, look absolutely insane. I'm very excited to dive into them, and I think, you know, ladies first, I think we should take a look at Spider-Woman here first.
She's also the way more exciting in my opinion.
I don't.
Save the
I'm
best for
super
first.
excited about Venom, but yeah,
I think. Well, I said when he got released or like showcased for the first time, Ryan, Agent Venom is like that character was just made for you to buy and build. Like they
Yeah.
didn't make that for anybody else.
yeah. I did like
It's
when
right
you
up Ryan's alley.
when you said that, I was like, I don't even know what Shane means by this, but he's right.
But yeah, Spider Woman. Ben, you want to lead us here?
Actually, I think it would be neat if we have our guest take Spider Woman. I know, personally, Mike and I have had some good talks about Spider Woman. Mike, do you want to take this over one because your sound quality is also better than mine?
Sure. So Jessica Drew is my Valentine. She comes out in February for Valentine's Day. Yeah, no, she is so exciting because Web Warriors have been forever blighted by no 4 threats, and I have to just still say no to the Venom fanboys. Anytime somebody wins with Web Warriors, they're not playing Venom. So, mate.
That is actually pretty accurate.
So yeah, Spider Woman is literally that 4 threat. She's just like the windmill slam 4 threat. Her attacks are crazy. She's got freaking an energy attack, which both energy attacks Web Warriors don't really have. Her builder just like applies a bunch of heinous conditions before damage, and one of them stun. So like if you just like spike into somebody, they just get 1 power and die. Her Spender's Venom Blast, which has always been great on Miles. She's got a grappling hook teleport like Black Cat. She's got Interrogate, which is absolutely ridiculous superpower that I don't think people are prepared for yet because Agent Widow's been not that great for the history of the game. And then she just has a whole bunch of cool stuff like long move, stealth, and martial artist. Yeah, I love this character. Unfortunately, I don't think Webs are in like an amazing spot right now, but maybe she's the missing piece.
Yeah, this card
Yeah,
is an absolute banger. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to, I think I 100% agree with what Mike you were saying. I think it's really important to note that all of the top tier web players aren't playing Venom, right? Venom's a great character. We don't, need to go down that road too far, but I think Spider Woman is going to provide so much flexibility into Web Warriors. And yeah, one of the scariest things for me, Mike, you said it, is, oh yeah, just casually her builder just applies stun before damage is dealt. So, Mystique's spender has to do that, right? So she's just moving along. She can place herself, and then she just punches poor Magneto in the face and applies stun, and then I'm just sad. I think
Yes,
it's going to
sir.
be a big. It's going to be a big deal. Some of her tactic cards, which I don't know if we want to fully get into, are just going to make her potentially oppressive. And go figure. Venom Blast, where you're forcing opponents to drop objectives, is just silly good in this
Yeah.
game. Hers is called Intoxicating Blast. Because she smells really good. She's so pretty. Right.
Well, it has like an added effect where I think it's like a wild trigger. If they're poisoned, you bow them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Right.
say right now, people are just gonna forget about that. Like that's gonna happen in
Yeah.
your games, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, wait a minute, I got the weird conditions to move you." also because I gave you poison instead of stun or shock for some reason. Um,
Right, right.
but it is funny that it's there.
A bit about the
Yeah.
Venom thing, real quick. I think there's like a lot. Like to play Web Warriors at the high level, you have to solve your horrible situations. Like you have to figure out how do you fight on demons against like Brotherhood or something like that, right? And um, Venom is just not going to help you there. It's just going to die.
Right.
So that's why I feel like you could never really dedicate the slot to him because he doesn't. You don't need him for your primary game plan of like playing spread out games and scoring points. And then when he would be useful, he just gets outclassed by things that are better than him. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, why we're seeing so much like Voodoo in Web Warriors too, right? I mean, besides Voodoo being such a really good character, I think he fills that fourth threat. You know, he's not doing a whole bunch of stuff that, help out the team in terms of, janky movement or, all this other stuff. But go figure, having him the best, probably the best character, fill a weird threat value for them is really good.
yeah, it also might free up like the Moon Knight slot in Web Warriors list now because
Yeah, that's fair.
you could play like six wide, and your four Web Warriors would be Miles, Gwen, Cat, and Spider Woman. And then you could
Mhm.
splash a 3 threat or something, for example. Whereas you would have to splash like double fours at 20 in the past.
Yeah. She's so fast too.
The
Just like
long
crazy
move
fast.
Yep.
is
Long move and
I
the
love it
place.
so much. Yeah, the place is insane and like the spender is only 3, the place is only 2, the interrogate's only 3 power. I can think of like so many like easy like plays that you can do with her.
It's really nice to talk about. I think how she fills some really amazing roles in Web Warriors. I think she's going to be gross in A Force, where you're just feeding her power. We don't know for sure that she's affiliated in there, but she's on a couple of their cards. So I'm going to take a hot take here and assume that she is. And even if she's not, I think she fills a really neat role within A Force. With stealth, interrogate, staying within that 2 bubble of, your bodyguard, She-Hulk is. I think she's going to be gross in A Force.
So I think she helps A Force a lot in that she's just fast. A Force's
And that's
biggest
it.
struggle is like playing Map D or something like that, Spider Portals, Extremis.
Mhm.
And this is where Spider Woman's going to be great.
Yeah, before we move on to Agent Venom, I don't want to talk about every tactic card we saw, but I want to have a quick conversation about Double Agent.
Mm.
Uh, I think
Mm.
Double Agent is really interesting. It's like when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, "Well, maybe it's a little awkward to use." And then I thought about it more, and now I'm kind of wrapped back around, and I think it's really cool. Um, I just kind of want to get everybody's like takes on this card because I think it's going to be kind of like bonkers in scenarios, especially when you have Prio, to like kind of like create awkward play patterns for your opponent.
Actually think it's the opposite. When you don't have Pryos, when this card's great.
Okay, interesting.
Assuming your Spider Woman is like not going to be dazed in like the first activation of the round, right?
Yeah,
Because you don't have to have Prow to play the card. It's just start of activation phase. And then, so let's say you're playing like against the Malekith Cabal, and your opponent has like Malekith and Bullseye. They have Prio. You play this card. You can put the thing on like Bullseye, right? And then if they activate Malekith, you can activate your Spider Woman, assuming she doesn't die, and
yeah,
then she's gonna get another activation, right? So you have to like read the table a little bit. I suppose with Prio, maybe you could
yeah.
activate her first, right? And then you're guaranteed to get it.
Yeah, my thought is like if you're on like a wider setup and like Spider Woman's on one flank and say on the other flank of the board, your enemy has like I don't know, some Achille attrition piece like an Angela or something, and you put it on Angela and then you go first with Spider Woman on that other side. And then it's like kind of creates this weird dynamic where like, okay, do I go with Angela right now and give Spider Woman a second activation, or do I ignore that otherwise good play that I had to, do something about Spider Woman? So I I think there's like what you said is actually super valid, and it's not something I considered at all. But I think the card is pretty cool. I've seen
Yeah, I
some
think
people like down on it.
No, this card's really good, I think, and yeah, I think we're both right on both. Like, it could be good with or without Prio.
Hmm.
There is one thing to note that if Spider Woman does take 2 activations, you're probably gonna give up Prio.
Yeah, for
Right,
sure.
right. I think what I really like about AMG when they produce these tactic cards that remove an activation token or give another activation, um, I think it creates a really interesting play state, right? And I think, Shane, to your point, it really forces your opponent to go, well, I really wanted to do X, but if I don't deal with Spider Woman, she's going to activate again, and potentially the game is over, right? And I think, Mike, that's where, to your point, if someone is playing this without prio, you can kind of guarantee some pretty neat autonomy with Woman, barring the fact that she doesn't get dunked, right? But I really really like how this can kind of in game create some problems, but out of game create some problems for your opponent to think about. And I've been having a lot of fun, playing some of that. And I know Shane, that's right up your alley too, with how you like to mess with me at least. But, but no, I think it's really great, and I don't think this card. I actually, in some circles, have been seeing people are really freaking out because it's overpowered another activation, and but we don't really see that too much. We don't see difficult to please. We don't see some of these other cards that I'm failing to think of off the top of my head, that are predominant. So I like it. I think it's good, but something to also be mindful of the Spider Woman player, that you don't get your Spider Woman pulled in and get exploded before you play this card. So on and so forth.
Hmm.
What's important to realize with this for the people that think this card's overpowered, uh, in both scenarios that Shane and I were talking about, there's counterplay from your opponent.
Yep.
Right.
There's a lot of agency on both sides, which I think is, I think it just creates puzzles, which is cool. I think that's a good like design space.
Agreed.
Um, and one thing we totally didn't talk about, but I think she's like sneaky durable too, with stealth and martial artist, and 4 physical defense. Just I love characters that have martial artists lately. I've just been all about it. Um, and you throw stealth and a decent, average health pool on it, and it's pretty not super easy to take down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she also has the very important 6 health.
Yeah.
6 health seems to be the breaking point of like, I get one shot often to I don't get one shot often.
Yeah. Quarterback
Mm.
Peter Parker is celebrating right now as we
Yeah,
speak.
he's living the
Yeah.
dream. Go Spidey.
So do we want to talk about Agent Venom now?
I
Yeah.
guess.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so Agent Venom, Flash Thompson, 4 physical, 2 energy, 3 mystic defense, 6 stamina, 4 threat, size 2 with a medium move. He's got Clintar Firepower as his builder. So this is a range 4, 5 physical attack. It's got a wild bleed, which is nice. He's got an incendiary grenade for 1 power, a 5 energy, range 3. After it's resolved, target character gains the Incinerate special condition. And then we have got, yeah, that's nice. We've got Symbiote Special Forces, which is a Beam 3 physical attack. Rolling 7 dice. This is costing you 4 power. And then it's got a wild and a hit trigger for Lashing Tendrils. After each attack is resolved, deal 1 damage to each other enemy character within 2 of this character. So a bit of like minute crowd control residual damage going on with this. What I really like are just his superpowers and how cheap they are, I think, is the biggest thing that stands out to me. So he's got his Symbiote Web Swing for just 2 power. Place this character within range 3 of its current position. He's got Project Rebirth 2.0 for 1 power, remove 1 special condition from this character. That seems really good. And then we've got All-Star Quarterback. Choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both of size 3 or less and within 2, and throw it S. Superpower can only be used once per turn. And then he's got Symbiotic Instincts. So while this character is attacking, defending character cannot modify its defense dice. That's really nice. And then we've got Wall Crawler rounding him out.
Yeah, I think he's like super like I don't know, like he just seems very balanced at a glance. Like I don't think that like maybe he's over or undertuned. It's early to say,
It
but
seems like he's good at everything, and he's not bad at anything, which is what I want.
My biggest gripe, and maybe this is me being too picky, all-star quarterback, and you throw small.
I was
That's a
thinking,
Yeah,
lateral.
like, what are we
That's a
doing?
lateral.
That is not an
I want
all-star quarterback. Like, make it range
right. I
5.
want my quarterbacks to be able to bomb it downfield.
I
Right.
want
what I'm
Juggernaut to be
saying.
my quarterback.
Exactly. Right.
Juggernaut.
I want Juggernaut. Do you know who I am? All-star quarterback. You know
Juggernaut.
what I mean?
I
Thank
want.
you, Mike, for picking up what I'm putting down.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Juggernaut's Aaron Darnold, dude. He's or Aaron Donald. He's like
Aaron
the
Donald, I love
he's the
it.
linebacker that
Yeah,
crushes your quarterback.
Agent Venom is just Tom Brady. He's just checking it down the field.
That's what he is. A little check down. Little check down.
Yep.
No, I like Venom. I think Venom's got, Agent Venom's got some play. I do think it's interesting that, and of course this always happens, when with spoils and stuff, people are trying to fit him in to every affiliation. Where does he fit? Where does he fit here? Um, I actually thought he was kind of interesting in Inhumans. That was we were talking a little bit about that. If people can feed him some power turn one, he might actually have some play. Of course, there are other affiliations that do that probably a little bit better, more efficiently. But I just thought that was interesting as a 4 threat. Um, I'm struggling as a Brotherhood player. I think I've seen a lot in the Brotherhood chat of like, oh, we just throw it. He's got a character throw. He's got a terrain throw. Um, I think it's time for people to stop shoehorning anyone who has some type of throw into Brotherhood just because they have the throw. Um, there are so many other characters I think that may do it better. That's just me initially, and I haven't tested him, but and he's also not a mutant, so I'm not a big fan. But I don't know. That's just me. I think he's good. I think he's good, but
I
you
think he's
gotta
just
test
going to
him out.
be great in his affiliations. I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
at a glance, I don't really see him as being like he doesn't appear to be somebody that I'd be excited to splash anywhere, but I think he's going to be cool in Guardians, cool in Shield. Webs, I mean, I think there is kind of that problem that you mentioned, Mike, earlier about like Webs have like kind of a gap at the 4 threat position, although now they've got Spider-Woman too. So, I mean, I I don't really know. What do you think, Mike?
So I like Agent Venom. I think he just kind of does everything pretty good.
Hmm.
He's not the best at anything. He's like very generalist. What is cool about Agent Venom is that he can activate like at any point in a round pretty much, and he could do something cool. So you could like go first with him, grenade somebody to like enable the rest of your team. He also just like probably punches harder than usual than you would expect due to the symbiote instincts and
Hmm.
just having like hook arrow. Like whip swing is basically hook arrow here, like Hawkeye's teleport. And I mean that combined with the range 4 gun, like he's just gonna shoot twice every round. And I mean Hawkeye builds power like a fiend, right? You
Hmm.
just can never use it. Well, Agent Venom is basically Hawkeye if he could spend power on cool things.
Hmm.
And
Interesting way to think about it. Yeah.
like I said, you can set up your team with grenades, or you could even go late, shoot things, and then like web swing, throw something. Also, his at least in Guardians, he gets the winging a token,
Yeah.
Hmm.
which is good for his output. And then in Web Warriors, he also just gets all webbed up, and that's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
I just like that Guardians have a 4 threat that is like in with the gunline gameplay that they already
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
are really good at. I think that's cool. Um, as an Eddie Brock enjoyer who is very intimately familiar with the 4-2-3 defense line, I'm so jealous of Project Rebirth. I hate Incinerate. I just want
Yeah.
that on my character. I think the way that they like designed him in terms of like comparing him to Eddie Brock and like he has these similarities like the 4-2-3 and the symbiotic instinct, but like they also separated them in interesting ways that I feel represents the characters really well, like on the tabletop. So I like what they did with this character.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's just not as flashy, just by reading the
That's
card
a pun
as like the
intended.
That was
Spider Woman.
you did that on
Yeah.
purpose, bro. Come on. Come on.
Uh,
He's
but
pretty
I think
flashy.
he plays better than his card reads.
I think so
As has
too.
been evident
Yeah.
with a lot of characters lately.
There we can talk really quick. I don't want to go too deep into it, but he's got that one card with Guardians that's like hilarious and
It's a
also
Yu-Gi-Oh
pretty good.
card. Yeah.
It's also really good, I think. And I'm forgetting what it's called. It's like
Called For an Assignment.
Yeah.
Porn Assignment. That's what it is. Yeah, this card's kind of nuts. Like I looked at it at first and I was like, oh, this is like when I first looked at it, it was like, oh, this is cute. It's like the Rogue card or the Deadpool card. And then I looked at it more and I'm like, holy crap, this is actually like way better than those.
Yeah, I think they're just continually improving that style of card, and maybe this is the first one that sees a lot
Yeah.
of play.
Yeah, this is super good. And especially because you can do multiple, which I don't think any of the other ones allow you to do multiple. It's just you pick one of the options.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
So I mean, just the amount of like between this and Deadly Duo, like Guardians are going to be having some like crazy, like they're being thrown a lot of dice outside of their actions, which is super in line with what they want to be doing anyway.
Well, and you know what's interesting about the foreign assignment card? Maybe I'm just in my excitement of looking at it because I also love that card, and I see long text in a card and I get giddy. It's something that excites me. And I'm wondering if you can trigger it in a way where you could conga line, like if you have each one of those characters, right? Because I think the key word that I'm looking at is and then, right? So if you can go in that order, I'm wondering if it triggers that way or if I'm just overthinking it because it's really long text.
Yeah, I think
Um,
one of the effects throws him. So I think you could be like in range of the partner that throw you like somewhere, and now you're in range of other characters that you can then trigger.
Mhm.
well, and I
That,
think most of
that
them walk him too, right?
There's
Here,
like
let me.
2 throws and there's an advance. And
Yeah.
then if he goes to Groot, he can remove up to 3. And then if he gets close, if he's within 2 of Star-Lord, he can make Star-Lord's full auto attack.
Actually,
uh,
there's two
at
advances. and
no
two
cost, and then he can advance S. So, I mean, that would be hilarious to get
So
off.
here's my question that I actually haven't bothered to like ask anybody. I'm pretty sure it's not this way, but you have to pay it all up front, right?
Agent Venom may spend any amount of power to play this card. Choose an option from the list below for each 2 power spent. So there's 5
Oh,
options. So if you spend 10, you can potentially trigger all of these if you have a perfect
Yeah,
board state.
what I was wondering is if he has to. I think he does have to pay it all at once, but I was just wondering because he can do an attack
Oh,
with like rocket, gain power, and then
okay.
potentially spend more. But I don't think it's like that.
I think
no, he would
I
definitely have
think
to spend all of it up front.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. My
it says
thought is the
during his activation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. I think you're right, Mike. I think it is all up front.
yeah.
Yeah,
My thought is the up front makes sense. It's just the range increments. So does he if he overspends on it? Let's say he's outside of range of rocket, but he uses the other one to move. To move himself, right? So, like,
Mhm.
Drax throws him within range 2 of Rocket because he's paid for the Rocket one. Does he get to use it? That would make sense to me.
Yeah. I think
yeah,
so.
that's really the crux of it is when is the range check happening?
Right.
I would suspect it to be a forum post when this card is officially spoiled.
Yeah. Either way, it's cool though.
This
Yeah,
card's
very
really, really cool.
So I guess that's kind of like all we were going to touch on with Spider Woman and Agent Venom and their cards and the new stuff. There's some other cards too, but we're just not gonna brush past. We're
Yeah, I
gonna
think those are less exciting.
yeah, for sure. We got the exciting ones. There's like a goofy one with like Captain Marvel and Spider Woman, but that's who cares?
That's a
We're gonna-
Dormammu card, dude.
Dude, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah, they just move up with no power. They just stand there menacingly. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, so I guess let's move on to the next the next topic.
Now we're going to be taking a look at I guess what we think of the new meta before LVO season 10, seeing what you guys have noticed has been like on the rise and what has not getting as much play, as well as this is all pure speculation. So expect some hot takes, and just some out of bounds predictions going on here. Uh, Shane, do you want to kind of like kick us off here with what you've been seeing in the new meta?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the reason this is an exciting conversation is because we are less than a month away from LVO and less than a month away from season 10, which are like the first things with the new crises, like the first big things. And the meta is like kind of like out there, like who knows for sure what exactly is going to come out and like win these events, which is really exciting. Um, it's not the Malekith, Sam Wilson auto win days at this point. And I think the obvious ones, I mean, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Mike, at the beginning of the show. Um, Guardians, particularly with Thanos, seems really strong right now. That's what won season 9, and it's although that was in the old crises. So I guess the question is, does that carry over as effectively and continue to be really dominant? And then I think Brotherhood is just bonkers right now. They just kind of have everything they've ever wanted, and they can be just piloted so well, like with or without, you know, Thanos jank, and I don't think they need it really. Um, and then I don't know. I mean, as far as what's going down and what's worse, that's like the hardest thing for me to say because it just feels like a lot of things are better now. Like the obvious things aren't as dominant, but it doesn't feel like anything got like really bad from this. I mean, I even think that like Cabal Malekith is like still pretty good, like kind of slept on at this point, and people were kind of just sick of it after it was like the center of the meta. But yeah, I mean, Ben, why don't you go? Why don't you talk about something? What do you think is going to kill it now?
Yeah, I think what's interesting now is we're seeing probably a movement away from obviously the single extract steals, which is happy dance time, right? Because there are no more single extracts. So I think people moving away from that. I think the steal mechanic is still a viable option. It's just you've got to run it a little bit differently. Going a little bit wider with the potential of understanding that you might want people to drop or steal more extracts. I kind of disagree with some thought process. Some people have been saying that this has really balanced out voodoo, or at least that's I think what some people. And maybe I'm still salty, and that's a very real. Maybe it's still a thing. I think voodoo is still a problem. Is still really really good in this meta. I think you just have to run him a little bit differently, and I don't know if that's enough to shake people away. And Mike, maybe you can speak to this too, but I don't think I think this shakes up a lot of the mid tier competitive lists. In terms of how people pilot them, maybe if I can be specific. Um, I think the way that people can pilot some of the other stuff at the higher end, I don't know if this shakes up a whole bunch. What are your
Oh man,
thoughts?
so I have a lot of hot takes here.
Okay, that's what we got
I
you
know,
for.
I know we've talked a bunch,
Uh,
off gas, but
and
yeah, hit me.
yeah, they're a little hot right now. Maybe less hot since I don't know, but there's no proof of what I'm saying is actually accurate. But uh, I do think that for okay, the crises changes I feel have just normalized the games. They have made it so that the extremes are gone. There's no
Hmm.
like it's a lot harder to achieve the round 3 legacies slam dunk or the no scoring games of nobody found a single extract or
Hmm.
the I scored sword every round and my opponents like I won 20-0, right? So the scores are a lot closer together between you and your opponent now.
Mhm.
And the weird like no scoring or uber scoring is mostly normalized. Gamma is another example. Like, oh yeah, dazed out my opponent in round 3 and scored like 12 points on Gamma, right?
Right.
My score, I won like 23-10 or something like that, right? Yeah, so it's going to be a lot harder to see those now. But as far as the meta is concerned, I think the new releases are honestly more impactful. Logan, Sabretooth, Pyro, Rhino are all extremely impactful to the game right now. And I do think, on your point about Voodoo and by extension Black Cat, I think they feel a little worse. Voodoo still as great as has always been on specifically hammers and cubes. He's worse on Virus because Virus is like nigh impossible to get to cheese the VP gain on it. In my experience, I tried to run my old Black Cat Steve nonsense, and Black Cat will just die if she gets all 3 of them before the round ends. And even if she does miraculously live, it's a lot harder. Like you probably won't score out, and then you'll be playing a model down, and there's no extra VPs on the table. So those changes are pretty impactful for that team in specific. But yeah, Voodoo's still great on cubes and hammers.
Yeah, and I think like I have seen kind of the same thing where a lot of people are like, some people are like kind of like staying level on Voodoo, but I've seen a lot of like extreme like, okay, I'm gonna like stop playing Voodoo now. Like and I do think to an extent you don't need him the way you needed him before, which is good for the game, absolutely. It is still like, it's it's not like, because the thing is Voodoo wasn't really like, he wasn't just like favorable in the old meta like he was, but it's just his kit is just so good. Like just the ability to have like, and I think I said this in like either the last cast or the cast before, but it's just so interesting the way you can approach a board state when you have Voodoo. Because like normally there's like there's an enemy character, and like you can like control them and like throw them away, or you can try to kill them. And Voodoo has this like phantom like third option that like nobody else has, and it's so good and so weird. So I do think he's still, I agree with you, Ben, that he's still as good, like generally speaking. But he's less exploitative in the meta. And I kind of think that's what you were getting at, Mike, and I agree with that as well. So like I don't know, I think maybe there's some overreactions about Voodoo being like dead. Like he's
No, he's
absolutely
not dead.
amazing. Yeah.
But if he's only great on 2 extracts and like mediocre on the rest, the opportunity cost to bring him as a splash is very high. Especially with all these good 4 threats being released now.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's awesome about that is with single extracts being gone, like you actually like it kind of rewards players with like better preparation, because now half of the extracts in the game aren't just like YOLO jank, like let's just like throw dice, and there's that element of RNG gone. So like you're more incentivized to like really think about each one of these extracts, and how you're gonna like approach it on turn 1, or like how you're gonna answer like cheese plays on the other side. Which kind of segues into like one thing I did want to bring up to you guys, which is I think a lot of the meta right now, and this is what I'm seeing from a lot of people, is, and it was sort of like this before, but I think even more so, is like safe midline extract plays, and I like basically how you break parity on turn 1 feels more important than ever. What do you guys think, Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some interesting shenanigans that you can pull on like paranoia, and more specifically, with like the scrolls or senators. I think senators is actually really funny. I think Mike, you and I were talking about just some like goofy stuff that you can do on senators.
Senators is just toxic if you
Yeah,
play into the good teams on it.
yeah.
We can
I
talk
mean,
about
it
that
can
maybe a
just
little bit later.
you can have a bad time really quickly. So it's interesting, and this is it's hot takes. Like I said, I've maybe played maybe maybe 15 games total of new Crisis stuff. I think, maybe a little bit more. So I'm still trying to figure stuff out, of what, my Brotherhood team want to do. The nice thing, with Weapon X is, all gas, all slaps, so, that's pretty easy to kind of figure out. It's interesting. I wonder how like webs functions now and some of this other stuff. I can tell you going into LVO, I'm a lot less worried. I going into LVO was pretty confident that I was gonna maybe win one game, two games with the single extract kind of shenanigans that was going on that in the pre Malekith nerf, was worried that we're just gonna see a whole bunch of that. With the Malekith nerf, with the new Crisis, I feel a lot more confident now, which actually somehow scares me more. But yeah, I like it. At least I think I do. And I think that the game is overall in a better state. So
Yeah, the game's definitely in a better state.
yeah,
Agreed.
I've been having a lot of fun playing games with the new stuff. I do think this whenever the game changes like this drastically, it just becomes another time to reevaluate what are the gear checks, like you like to say on my cast. In the past, it's been things like, oh, what's your 14 threat sword team, or what's your 15 threat gamma team?
Yeah.
Like whatever, like the most dominant thing, like the most proactive thing in the game, if you will. Like Kingpin on Scoundrels is like another super proactive thing, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
like
I do think
finding those and then figuring out if you can do that, like play that or beat it.
and I think Senator's Brotherhood is like a new one too, where I think you have to at least like be somewhat aware of what can happen to you if you're playing against Brotherhood on Senators.
Yeah,
don't
I
tell
think
anybody. Shush.
yeah, it's very very strong, but I think Brotherhood players, I don't so first of all, Brotherhood's not the easiest faction in the world to play. They are
Mhm.
kind of like Avengers at this point, where you can do everything and it comes down to like how you build your squad. It also hinges a lot on how good you are at playing Hulk.
Mhm.
Can we just hear that again for everyone in the back there, Mike? That Brotherhood is not the easiest to pilot, and good Brotherhood players are just good players. Can we just say that so that everyone in the back can hear that?
I completely second that actually.
There we go. There we
I
go.
mean,
Just
Brotherhood literally Brotherhood are so cool. You can make all your secures demons downtown intrusions gamma and just kill people with Magneto and be successful. Or you could literally just play like extremist cosmic invasion scoundrels with like a Mystique primary game plan and just like dominate people with control teams. I've done both and they're both really
yeah,
great.
their design space. If we're just going to take this down the Brotherhood road just to make Shane happy, real quick. We'll just thank you, Mike, for being on the cast for this exact reason. But their design space is, as a whole affiliation, it just makes me gush for the exact reason what you're saying is, you can build them in so many different ways, that curtails to you as a player. And I think that's what can sometimes create analysis paralysis in your opponent. You look at a well-balanced roster for Brotherhood and people don't know exactly what to do against you, right? Because, like you said, maybe I built my, my Magneto list. And if we get, something that favors that, I'm going to smash you. But your control, score lots of points with lots of crises. Well, I also have an answer to that with Mystique, and some other shenanigans. I really love their design space. I think it's great. Um, so yeah, and anytime where Shane complains about buildings being thrown at him is just it's a glorious day. It's just it's a
No,
win
but
for the
seriously,
world.
Brotherhood is like they're so flexible right now. They almost feel like a complete affiliation. Like they
Hmm.
could,
Yeah.
but it does kind of seem like they could. And I'm not I'm not saying this to upset you, Ben, but we could go like another year and a half without a Brotherhood release, and they would not like fall behind in any way. Like they're just so equipped for like any meta. I feel just between all the different play styles that they can facilitate and all the really good characters and really good tactics cards they have. They're just like they're just so good right now, and I think they're probably in my eyes like a top 3 affiliation in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it now. All right, you heard it first. 8 Threat Onslaught released in August this year. Just saying it.
God help us.
We don't need this.
8
So
8 Threat affiliated Onslaught. Give it to me. Let's make it
So
happen.
let's talk about the other boogeyman, though. If we're calling Brotherhood kind of a boogeyman, I don't know if I would call them a boogeyman, but they're one of those clearly strong things.
Yeah.
But I think if there's one thing that I would refer to as a boogeyman, it's the Guardians Thanos stuff, and I
Yeah.
think it warrants a conversation for sure. Ben, you and I have talked about it a lot, but I want to hear, Mike, what's your thoughts on this at the moment? Like, is it
So
as
yeah,
good?
so I've played quite a bit of this actually, and
Okay.
since the changes, and it's definitely gotten worse from the changes. Now, I think the Malekith nerf is overstated for them. I think if you're really scared of Thanos Guardians, Malekith is a great option into that still. Like just play a little KG on round 1. Don't let them like shoot the shit out of you. And then just go in and flip Thanos immediately.
Mhm.
Because like as soon as you daze Thanos, the game gets significantly easier. And Malekith still has like a lot of he still is rolling 4 dice with skulls that explode on crits, right?
Mhm.
And if you play things like Fallback, Phantasmagoria, Recal, he can be even more of a nightmare to remove, even with rerolls.
Yeah, I
So
totally agree about that. I just like I've been without revealing like his secrets. I mean, he's playing it publicly, but Lucas Sheik is still like riding the Malekith train at the moment, like Cabal Malekith, and he's just like it's not like you can make it work, and it can feel just as good as it ever was. Um, so I mean, I'm all aboard that notion that Malekith is not he's not gone. I think as long as
no,
there's
I don't think
some good
so.
play.
And I think he's very good into the he's very good into that Thanos Guardians team.
Mhm.
I mean, also that team heavily relies on like how good that player is at playing Thanos, and there just aren't many good Thanos players. So like your chance of running into one is rare. Speaking of like the crises changes, Research Station going to 15 is like a huge nerf for them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like you could now take secures and they flip researcher, they don't get to play their best team. Or they pick your secure threat or something, but their 15 is like you just Gamora Star-Lord Thanos usually.
Mhm.
Assuming they're gonna play Thanos. I know people have been talking about. I mean, you could just play normal Guardians, like Thanos, Rocket Groot, 5 threat, 2 threat, or something like that. Which
Yeah.
is fine, but then you're playing with no restricted cards. Feels a little weird. I know some people are playing Malekith with Star-Lord, Rocket Groot at 15, which I
Yeah.
think is okay, but I think into any 3-wide team that can kill you, your Malekith will die. So,
Yeah, no, I have seen that Malekith 15 threat team with Guardians, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, the one thing about like Guardians have this super cheap core, and so like they allow this to happen really easily. But whenever you're dealing with a team like this, where it's got this 8 point like centerpiece character, the list building options usually are like pretty transparent. Like you can look at the different threat levels and be like, okay, like I
yep.
can like really easily identify what they're taking. And as long as you have that ability to like recognize that, I think that it's not an impossible task to beat it or anything. You just need to like be prepared for what the list is capable of. And fortunately, it's easy to figure out what that list is specifically.
Yeah, they're not like Brotherhood or Avengers where it's like, I don't know what my opponent's going to put on the table. I
Yeah,
can guess, but I
there's
don't
like
know for
20
sure.
things and they're all good.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Thanos team is like very obvious what they're going to play. Also, one thing that's shouldn't be understated is Pyro's existence is like a threat to Thanos.
Yeah.
Pyro
Getting
is
like a
nasty.
firewall incinerate on Thanos is like hell. Play as a Thanos player.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody that plays a lot of Cassandra Nova and that loves Cassandra Nova, looking at Pyro have that exact biokinesis superpower for one less power at a 3 threat just makes me ill. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to use that power against Thanos that easily. Because you're right, it's so good there.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Firewall is undercosted. It probably should cost 3 because you can easily just like move Gainer, Firewall somebody.
Yep.
For round 1, and
Yeah,
if it costs 3, it wouldn't do that.
It's excessively easy to pull off.
Yeah. But it
So
also hinders big boys the most, and I don't know if I hate that
that's
for
true.
like the game, you know?
That's a good point. So what else do we think? So I mean, I think Brotherhood and that are like the two standout crazy things. Um, how do we feel about Criminal Syndicate right now? Because I've heard a lot of talk about Kingpin, a lot of talk about Shadowland Daredevil. Do we think that Syndicate is truly in a much better place as far as their likelihood to win something like LVO or Season 10?
It's funny you mentioned that. I think stock's down on Syndicate.
Okay. And I'm
Interesting.
curious. I had a feeling you were going to say that. So can you elaborate?
Sure, yeah. Daredevil's okay. I think he suffers a lot from having Follow Me be restricted.
Mhm.
And his team's not super mobile, so a lot of these extracts are like a pain in the butt to pick up and do things relevant. So he struggles with that, and I think Kingpin's just not mobile, and a lot of the secures are just like really in your face. He'll
Mhm.
just get thrown off points or killed or something, ignored.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but I haven't really been impressed with them lately.
I agree, and I've been playing against a lot of Syndicate lately. It feels like just like in my pickup games. I mean, when the two things that we talked about to begin with were the Thanos Guardians and Brotherhood, which takes Juggernaut, and therefore, do you know who I am? Like Kingpin is like, unless you're taking Indomitable with your Syndicate team, like Kingpin can get displaced like pretty brutally. Um, and then it's like when we first had the Malekith nerf, and you could like reroll into him now. Like people got really excited about Shadowland Daredevil again, but I kind of agree that there's other factors like the follow me restriction that are kind of holding. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that I play Spider Foes. I don't like. I very rarely lose to Criminal Syndicate, so like it's not a matchup that I look out for that often. But I do agree. I think in like in a general sense, they're not nearly as good. I think compared to those top teams.
I wonder, and I've tried some criminal shenanigans. I actually think, with the right crisis combo, I think you're right. I would tend to agree that into the top affiliations, it's a huge uphill battle that I don't know if Crime has all of the tools. I'm not as worried with Shadowlands Daredevil with Follow Me if they can keep the all according to plan play open. I think I've seen some really dirty turns where it swings games and in favor of Shadowlands Daredevil. So I think with right placement, right order of activation, with Shadowlands Daredevil players, I think that's okay. Obviously, follow me being unrestricted would obviously make that way better, but um, I've actually seen Rhino really change Kingpin's game.
Yeah, Rhino's
I've done it in a
amazing.
couple.
We glossed over that.
Yeah, I think Rhino's a great character. More specifically in Crime, I think that's, in my opinion, and I know Shane might disagree with me, but in my opinion, I think that's Rhino's best home is in Crime. Um, just because on turn one now, on Gamma, he's in your back point um, if you don't position correctly. And I really like that. I think he's got some really strong shenanigans that, of course, people can displace and do other things, to resist. But it makes you deal with a problem in your backfield rather than advancing some other important pieces up the field that you might want to do. So I think Crime might have, if I were to give them an overall up or down, I think they might have gotten a slight up, but like the most minute slight, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as him being better in Syndicate or foes, I think he is incredible in foes. And I think a lot of that for me is tied to like turn one pressure.
Mhm.
With like, with sinister traps and this is a robbery, and just being able to like set up like these lose situations on turn one. He's been absolutely incredible. He's like completely like revamped the way I have to approach spider foes because of how good he is. I'm just so high on Rhino. But I honestly, a lot of people talk about Rhino on Kingpin. I think he's pretty great in Shadowland Daredevil too. And it's like his like transparently like obvious place is in the Kingpin list because he's a big beefy guy. He's size 4. He's hard to move. But I think his offense is a little bit underrated by people who are discussing him. Putting out like really low effort to put out like a 7 dice strike, a 5 dice strike, and then throw like a size 3 or 4 piece of terrain at you. And then on top of that, he can throw you potentially at like a wall or into another friendly character. Um, Rhino just is. I think he's just so good. I'm like over the moon with this character, and I think he's. I don't know. I don't know how like much he's going to feature in LVO and in season 10 like as a splash character, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like pretty common at least due to the fact that he's a pretty new character and he's exciting. But I do think it's potentially warranted.
Yeah, one thing to note that with Rhino is he's amazing at paying for all according to plan.
Oh, that
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
that's true. Yep.
I've seen some pretty hilarious play with like a big cruel tutelage stampede attack where he just gets like 10 dice strike and just like explodes something. He hits like a truck. And like I like you compare him to like Juggernaut, who really most of the time just like walks, does an 8 dice strike. Like Rhino for a threat less is doing a 7 dice strike, a 5 dice strike, and like throwing a building at you. Like pretty consistently. So like his offensive output is pretty nice, honestly. Like people look at his card and see, oh, his only attack is a 5 dice builder. But it's like so much more than that.
Yeah.
And I think people got to put some respect on Rhino.
Put some
I think what I
respect on
want to
his
do
name.
for I think what I want to do for my Rhino, I'm gonna I want to 3D print a small version of Juggernaut, paint him gray, put a little horn on his head, and be like, "Look, it's Rhino."
Oh my
Does that
god.
mean? Does that mean? Shots fired.
I'm not gonna say anything. Just gonna walk away from the conversation.
And I think you're literally belittling him.
Boom. We're on fire today, guys. We're on fire.
There's one other thing. I do think X-Men are worth talking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
X-Men have very, very strong proactive plan if they get their pay to flips into you. If you're not playing like the slowest of slow secure or extracts, it's going to be an uphill battle for you.
Yeah. I mean, especially now that like because like I think the new sword is like pretty interesting for them.
I think so, but on that topic, I think a lot of people. So X-Men will play sword with prio and T, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
people will take their extract threat because they also don't want to play on 15.
Yeah.
I think if you can build a killer 15 into X-Men, you could probably catch them with their pants off.
I actually totally agree with that, and that's been my thought because I've had to think about this matchup a little bit with like because I have pretty high extract threat values with my foes, and like I think about what I expect X-Men to take at 15, and like what I can take at 15 if I want to go like a killy route and like try to exploit their like little guys, and it doesn't sound terrible, because if I try to play like a scoring game against them when they have that prio and they're getting their secure, it's just going to be like really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good point there, Mike.
Yeah, It's just a lot of people don't want to play on 15, so they'll just be like, all right, well, I put down my 17 threat extract. Let's just play 17. Well, it's like X-Men are also just better at that, right?
Mhm.
X-Men, my read on them is like they have a they have like a minimum requirement of characters affiliated that they want to bring to like play their game. And then
Mhm.
if there's threat left over, they can tech splash into what they think is the best stuff. And that's really when they're at their best. If you can catch them on like low threat, they're just like basically bare bones what they need to function.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I guess like how, on the topic of X-Men, like how important do you think Logan is to them?
I think Logan is very good for them.
Mhm.
He's probably their best fourth threat, but he also just supplements what they're already trying to do and are good at. I don't think he's that great on things that they're bad at.
Okay. That's interesting.
Like
Um,
if you're an X-Men player and your opponent puts demons downtown into you and they're amazing at killing you, like let's say Thanos Guardians. I mean, I guess cover can be annoying, or even Magneto Brotherhood or something. Like the
yeah.
best demons teams. I think it's going to be a struggle for you as an
And that's
X-Men
gonna
player.
happen. That exact thing you just laid out is gonna happen at LVO, and it's gonna happen in season 10.
Yeah, and it's not
Um,
something I hear X-Men players talk about. All the discourse about X-Men that I see is how can I make my pay to flip plan the best that it can be.
Right.
mhm.
Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I do think that like in terms of like we're not doing a tier list, but in terms of like the tiers, like if I had to like visualize X-Men right now, they're like I see them as being like right under like the scariest things where they are like if they're in their element, they're kind of terrifying. Um, but there are some like notable weaknesses. Not that they're the major. So obviously, I wouldn't be. I mean, somebody could show up to LVO and win with X Men. There's nobody's going to deny that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
they're just that kind of affiliation. So we talked about Brotherhood, and Ben got to get super excited. So can I just like take a moment to talk about Spider Foes
You can have a moment to talk about spider foes as a treat.
as a little
As
treat?
a little
Okay.
treat.
I think that they are. I mean, to me, they feel like the best they've ever been pretty easily. Um, and it was taking me a long time to wrap my head around it because I was like trying to grapple with like how do I include Rhino the right way, but then also I have to wrap my head around like a dozen new like crisis cards essentially. So and I was struggling for a little bit with it, but I mean honestly, as I've gotten more like comfortable on it, um, I am just like so much happier with the state that foes are in right now. And this is like the first time since I've been playing this affiliation where it's like there's always like at least one thing that I'm like, yeah, if I play against that, I'm probably just going to lose, and there's like not much I can do about it. This is the first time where I don't really feel that. Like I feel like I have game into like just about anything. Um, First of all, with Rhino, I feel like they can play at lower threats better than they have ever been able to. I feel way more comfortable taking like a four wide team with like Goblin, Rhino, like Nova, and like a three threat or something, or like Goblin, Rhino, Venom, and whatever. That feels way stronger than the whatever the alternatives were back in the day, pre Rhino. I mean, on top of that, I think that like the death of single extracts makes foes extract game way more interesting because sinister traps, like I have to have a plan for sinister traps on like every crisis setup because before it's like you're not going to take sinister traps most of the time on like a single extract because it's just a wash. Like it might not be there. It's like it basically doesn't matter. You just take a part of the board away. Which I mean, maybe there was something to that, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Now you can actually create like hardcore midline punishes with Rhino and with Cassandra Nova, and you can like, more importantly, all these teams are setting up with their like ultra safe midline grabs, and like players just get so flustered when you put down sinister traps and like they realize that their whole thing that they just had in like their whole game plan for turn one is just like thrown out the window. um and I've just really loved it, so I think foes are better than they've ever been. They feel better than they ever have for me.
What do you do against Juggernaut running up in your face?
Uh,
Juggernaut just he goes to 3 power. You do damage to him, he could just slide again.
Oh, I don't. So I've actually started to just actively not take Sinister Traps if I'm playing against Brotherhood, just because I have too
You
much.
you can't you
Oh,
can't
wow.
Cassandra Nova Juggernaut either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So against Juggernaut, against like Brotherhood in general, I've like, and Ben, you already know this. I've like leaned away from the trap game
Yeah.
because there's just too much. Like you've got Magneto with 6 Mystic Defense. You have Juggernaut who basically is just immune to every part of it.
Right.
So like you have to approach it differently. And I think part of it is foes are an amazing turtling team. They can create like a disparity in extracts, or they can force parity at worst in like a bad situation, pretty well on turn one. And it's like gotten to the point where like I've gotten so used to like a lot of teams like of like playing Sinister Traps against a lot of teams that like when I mess around and play something else and I'm like not playing foes, I'm like, oh man, I really wish I could Sinister Trap that over there because I see what they want to do and I can't make them not do it, and it makes me sad. But no, Juggernaut's always been kind of a problem for foes, and that was the one silver lining of the Malekith meta was that there was a slightly less Juggernaut. Um, but I think you kind of have to just like try to play the best extract game you can. I've gotten pretty good against Brotherhood though. It turns out playing against them a million times in a row helps your game into the faction.
Go
Thank you for
figure.
that.
If you throw enough buildings at you, you just learn.
Yeah, you just eventually learn things.
You just learn.
I mean, dude,
Yeah,
playing things that beat you all the time is like amazing way to get better at it. Like I
yeah.
didn't Black Order was so hard for me to deal with when it was like a thing. And then I
Mhm.
took time to play it and I like never lost to it again.
Yep, that's what you got to do. I mean, I don't like other than like when you and I play, Ben. I don't know the last time that I've lost to like a random Brotherhood player. Whereas I used to just like see it and just like groan and hate it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's pretty interesting. I think foes are great now though. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Any characters in particular that are? We didn't really talk. We talked about Brotherhood, but we didn't talk about Apex Predator. Really?
Yeah,
Don't get
Sabretooth's
me started.
crazy.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. So I listened to like 3 different podcasts today, and in one of those 3, Mike, I'm pretty sure this was you talking about it, but I'm 100% in agreement with you. The Sabretooth pounce is absolutely crazy.
I mean, it's just his whole kit is just like,
Yeah.
like what is that character actually bad at? Because
He's
I think
bad at getting started.
that's yeah,
Without
like,
like
True.
dice spikes.
yeah, and it's weird because it's like he's like because he has all these things to spend power on that are just like amazing. But it's like he can get started pretty easily. Like a lot of the things is like you're playing him in Magneto Brotherhood, right? So you can get in the power. But like I don't know, he's just like once he gets started, which really all it takes is like one good dice roll or playing him in the right affiliation. He's just such a menace. I think he's like a top 5 4 threat easily in my eyes.
I've been playing him in Weapon X, and he's been getting started just fine too. Like I said, go figure that having a 2-cost spender that teleports you at range 3 is very good.
Yep.
That you can just pop off on turn 1, right? No matter the cost. Oh no, I took a damage, and now you're dead.
Yeah, the no matter the cost on turn 1 is pretty nice with him. Like he's just like so like he's got the 4-3-4, which is weird. Like I don't know why he has 4 Mystic Defense. Like when Logan has 2, like is he like as somebody that's not super familiar with Sabretooth in the comics, like can somebody justify 4 Mystic Defense for Sabretooth for me?
Because he's an evil asshole.
Is there-
Like
is there
he's
any-
I can't. Actually, yeah, I don't know why he has 4 Mystic, to be honest with you.
It's yeah. I mean, he has healing factor, so you're stapling exceptional healing to him a lot of the time. So you can't like big chunk one shot him, and then he has 7 health anyway, so it's like really hard to do that anyway. He's got excellent defensive stats, and then you also don't want to really hit him because if you hit him, you're giving him power to just like ruin your day. and so you just ignore him, but he's like gonna get there eventually, and like he's gonna attack you, and I don't know, he's so scary. Like they just did not hold back with Apex Predator.
I love him. I'm quite happy with him. I
Oh, I
believe
know
a
you
couple people.
are.
I think we have an episode where, like I said, I just salivated over him. Just love him to death. Great character. 10 out of 10.
I do think for LVO that I think the most taken character will be Pyro.
Yeah,
I would not be
Yeah.
surprised to see that.
I would say Pyro. Here's my hot take. I think Pyro is more of a problem than Sabretooth.
Did you say
It
hot
could be
because
Toad as
fire?
well.
Yes, I'm gonna say pun included. We've been puntastic today. No, he's easier to splash, and slow and root. Go figure. Very good that he can just do.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think you're right, Mike. And I don't know. I hope someone takes some like actual statistics at LVO too. That we
I
can
think
measure.
Jacob probably will
That'd be
when
awesome.
the
Yeah,
lists go live. He did last year.
yeah. I think that would be great. Um, so that we could see, and that way we can say we've said it here too, right? Heard it here, but we've already called it. We've already called the winner of LVO, which is going to be Mike. So
Yeah, it has to.
Gonna
So now
try.
there's pressure on you now because we
Mike and me in the finals. Woo-hoo!
Dude,
uh,
I wouldn't even be mad if I lost.
Oh, thank you, Mike. No, it's gonna be Mike and I have already talked about this. It's gonna be Mike and me round one, and I'm just gonna get booted round one. It's like, all right, blasting off to outer space again. Whee!
And to be honest, like everything I said on this cast could just be BS, right? And like I could be completely off base, and I'll just get like Terrigenesis round one and lose. So who
Yeah.
knows?
we're gonna hop in the hot take time machine after LVO, and we're gonna figure out exactly what was
Oh, that would
real
be
and what
fun.
was fake. I mean, so Mike, are you doing season 10 by the way?
I am.
Okay. Are you? I
Uh,
can't actually remember. Are you Central or
I'm
East?
playing in West this season. I mean,
Okay.
I'm in Mountain time zone. That's where I live.
Gotcha.
So there's no bracket. But yeah, I would like to. Last year, I played in the first two seasons. I didn't make cut in either. I played my Web Warriors Black Order list last year in the first season of the year, and I missed cut on the last game due to like I was burnt out and
hmm
had some unlucky crisis draws. Um, and then I didn't really have a list that I loved until the Avengers list. But then I skipped the season, and but here I am. I'd like to start doing well in the league again, and maybe even win one. So I'm gonna give it my all.
Nice. Very exciting. Very exciting. I think I'm a New Yorker in Central Time, or playing in Central Time, or Central bracket, I guess. So I guess we're all in different places. Ben, you're East. You're gonna do East, right? If you play.
Yeah, yep, yeah. I already you convinced me. I signed up, even though it's gonna be weird. I gotta. Well, and so, Mike, you and I, we gotta try to get our first game in like before LVO, right? Like it's gonna be weird.
Yeah,
Not excited about that.
it should be all right.
We'll figure it out.
Also, I love the no list lock now. I got really annoyed and burnt out with the grinding that I had to do and people would do
Mhm.
Yeah,
with that.
that's fair.
And I always felt a lot of my strength at conventions was the fact that I could dissect my opponent's list quickly.
Yeah,
And that was not rewarded in the league with the old rule set, but now it is. So
Yeah, I get that. I
and
I
I
see. Go ahead, Ben.
no, and I wonder. I mean, I played my same list the entire time last season, so I wonder how many people actually do that too. I wonder how many people are changing it up to lazy jerks like me who are just like, I'm just gonna stay with this list the whole time.
I think
And
doing well in the league might get to a point where you have like you play 3 top tier lists and you just silver bullet people.
Mm,
yeah, I know that
Uh,
Suzumi Kazo Leaf, who was in the finals against Pat, he was playing like 2 or 3 different affiliations throughout his run. Like he was jumping between like Convo and Brotherhood at least.
I mean, Pat did too, right? Pat played Avengers and Cabal in the Swiss, and then he played
That's true.
Guardians after Malekith got nerfed.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I was just I kind of like I don't know if this was a foolish assumption. I assumed that Pat jumped because of like the changes rather than like trying to throw his opponent off. Whereas I did kind of get the impression that Suzumi Kazo was kind of just like doing what you were talking about, like having 2 or 3 lists and
Yeah.
like jumping in with the silver bullet. And because I mean, I think Pat even said he didn't really know exactly what his opponent was going to play. And he said that was like the first time he felt that throughout cuts. So
Yeah, I think Pat just went back to his Guardians list because he felt like Malekith didn't ruin it anymore.
yep. Yeah, and he's obviously quite good with that. I mean, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And he's going to be at LVO, isn't he?
Pat, no. He's going to Adepticon.
Oh, that's what it is. It's Adepticon, not LVO. Thought he was going to LVO. But yeah, LVO is going to be awesome. I wish I could go. I'm going to be just sitting here in New York, jealous of all of you, cheering you on and watching on the PC on this Twitch stream.
Yep.
Let it be known. I'll spoil it here. The Friday event, the best affiliation list, the best Spider-Foes player is going to be me.
Oh my God, you're just going to freaking troll me with that.
You heard it here first.
Come back with that token and just like rub it in my face.
Just gonna hang it on my wall, send a picture. It'd be great. That's what friends are for, right, guys?
Yeah.
You can't come near me with that token if you get it. I just want you to know that.
Oh, you should wear it as a necklace.
We'll be on site then.
All right. With that, I think we're gonna end the pod here. We're coming up on almost an hour and 40 minutes. Once again, thank you, Mike, for coming on to the Crisis Point podcast. We really appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for having me on. This was super fun, and I love all you guys. So keep doing what you're doing.
Before
any shout outs, Mike?
Yeah, I have the Danger Room podcast. We have a couple. We have an episode coming up on Monday, and whenever this goes out, I don't know, the following Monday. That is very exciting for me, and I think it will help a lot of people level up their game. So
I can't wait.
Looking forward to that. Well, all right, guys. Thank you all for listening in to the Crisis Point podcast. Shout out to all of the Patreons and the YouTube channel members who help us to keep the lights on. Without your support, we wouldn't really be able to do this as often as we would like and to the quality at which we present. Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you all again in the next one.